Are you tired of 12-hour runs? Well, fear no further, because this is the video for you. What's up guys, my name is Spartan, and in today's video we'll be going over a guide for glass cannon farming. I'll be going over basically when and how to transition to glass cannon, as well as the necessary adjustments in the labs, ultimate weapons, modules, etc. that you need to kind of look into. And also, why this approach can significantly boost your coin and cell income. Keep in mind, there will be timestamps listed in the video description as well as possibly on the screen. I think it should show up on the screen, so feel free to skip around to whichever parts apply to you. But if this is your first time watching it, I would encourage you to go ahead and just stick through the entire video because there's going to be a lot of value in this guide. But first and foremost, I would like to preface this guide by just saying this has been put together not by myself alone, but by multiple pretty experienced players who are currently doing like tier 16, tier 17, tier 18 glass cannon farming, as well as I also pulled a lot of people that are just getting into glass cannon or just recently did to kind of get their opinion as well. So I'm hoping that this guide can kind of be a one-stop shop for everything you guys need to know glass cannon. And obviously if there's anything I didn't cover in this video, drop it down in the comments below and I will try to get back to as many comments as I possibly can. And with that, let's first and foremost just kind of discuss what is a glass cannon build. What does it actually look like? The glass cannon build predominantly just focuses obviously on maximizing your tower's damage output while minimizing your defensive capabilities. The primary goal is of course to eliminate enemies before they can actually reach your tower. This strategy is particularly effective in late game farming in higher tiers. The main overall goal is instead of doing 11 12-hour runs, you want to do like shorter runs that are more frequent throughout the day in a higher tier. This will lead to higher coin gains as well as higher cell gains. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about why you would want to transition from EHP to glass cannon. While EHP does excel at survivability in the early and mid game, EHP builds often lead to stagnation. And what this looks like is basically slower overall wave progression in tiers, diminished coin and cell income, and overall just extended, annoying, horrible runs. Switching to glass cannon basically allows for faster coin and cell accumulation, more efficient farming runs in higher tiers, and quite frankly is just mandatory for being competitive in Legends League tournaments. And so in terms of actually transitioning from EHP to glass cannon, what does that actually look like? There are three primary phases in the mid game that you kind of want to take into consideration. And you might figure out that as I'm reading these, you're in one of these phases, and that's perfect. You have a starting point and you know where to go. So phase 1 is going to be the early stages of the mid game. What this looks like is basically you begin by obviously unlocking your Golden Trinity, your three primary Econ ultimate weapons, Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Death Wave. You're focusing on survivability and coin generation at the same time during these burst windows when all three of those ultimate weapons are going off. The primary goal is obviously trying to achieve a sync between Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Death Wave. Some other goals during this period will include things like trying to work towards permanent Black Hole, and also syncing your GT with Death Wave. That's going to be really important. You likely will need to utilize Multiverse Nexus during this process of achieving permanent Black Hole. If you don't have a Multiverse Nexus, that's totally fine during the stage, but it does become pretty important later on, and we'll talk about that later. Now moving on to phase 2, I think this could basically be summed up in the word stabilization. What this looks like is starting to transition from strict EHP and moving into a more hybrid build. By the time that you're in phase 2, you likely are able to max most of your workshop stats during the run, if not all of them, and that's fantastic. But the main thing that you want to do is you want to continue to reduce your ultimate weapon cooldowns and basically keep working towards permanent uptime on your econ producing ultimate weapons. At this point, you really would like to have close to an ancestral Multiverse Nexus and Galaxy Compressor. Also during this phase, you want to begin starting to work on some light damage investment in terms of your labs and your enhancements. And we'll talk about what these labs actually look like a little bit later on in the video, so stay tuned. But that is the main thing of phase 2. This is what we basically would call the hybrid phase. Your EHP is in a good solid spot, and you're basically starting to kind of work towards that glass cannon spot, which is more damage oriented. Now moving on to phase 3, this is the later end of the mid game. What this phase actually looks like is ideally you would want to have permanent uptime on all 3 of your coin producing ultimate weapons, the Golden Trinity, Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Death Wave. Also at this point, you really want to be at the point where you are unlocking Golden Tower Plus. And this will provide a pretty significant noticeable coin increase. And the reason that you want to unlock Golden Tower Plus is because you also will want to start working on card masteries at this point. And we'll talk about card masteries a little bit later on as well, but keep in mind this is totally my opinion, but I think it makes the most sense. You want to unlock Golden Tower Plus prior to unlocking card masteries and working on those. The reason being, with card masteries, the starting level in the lab for each card mastery in the game starts at 1 quadrillion coins. During the course of upgrading a given card mastery, in order to fully max it, you will have spent about 40Q coins, which is absolutely insane. That is why I will always side with trying to go ahead and push for that GT Plus prior to unlocking card mastery. There are a few card masteries that are good upon unlock, but even then, if you don't have Golden Combo, I still would side more towards getting Golden Combo first. Ideally, during Phase 3, you are probably making close to around 1Q coins per day. That would be ideal. And you'll continue kind of farming either Tier 11, Tier 12, and it'll be longer runs at that point. 9, 10, 11,000 waves, 10, 11, 12-hour runs. It's going to be a lot. But this is a critical part of basically working towards that big glass cannon transition. And at this point, in terms of your enhancements and your lab levels, you have a really solid foundation of your base EHP stats. And at this point, you're really starting to hone in on that damage side. You're working on things like your damage enhancements or damage labs. And again, we'll talk about the details of that a little bit later on in this video, but I'm mainly just giving you a brief sort of scope of what these 3 phases actually entail. So that is basically the 3 mid-game phases. Now moving on to actually transitioning to Glass Cannon. What does that look like? So once you're in Phase 3, this is what your next steps will be. And keep in mind, these recommended requirements are just that. They are recommended. I know people who have started Glass Cannon prior to achieving any of these milestones, and it's been fine for them. I also know people who have tried before getting these milestones, and it's been challenging. So just keep in mind, this is kind of an overall kind of cookie cutter goal that you could strive for that would really put you in a solid spot. So first and foremost, the first recommended requirement is actually going to be a lifetime coins of 40 plus quadrillion lifetime coins. That mostly comes down to a couple things. Obviously, having enough liquid coins to beef up your enhancements and get your damage at a good spot, but also making sure you have enough coins available so that you can begin working on some of these card masteries that we're going to touch on in a little bit. In addition to lifetime coins, there's also a lifetime stones that would be definitely recommended. That would be lifetime stones of 60,000 plus. I know, that is completely terrifying to think about. But again, these are recommended. If you have 40,000 or 50,000, you can always take some of this stuff and go ahead and try it. And the reason for that is because in order to really maximize the utility of Glass Cannon and make it work, you need a lot of things. You need card masteries, you need really good ultimate weapon development, and there's just a lot involved with it, so just keep that in mind. This is not by any means a beginner build. This is a very advanced build. In terms of your damage, you likely will need damage without Amplifying Strike equipped at 1 trillion. 1 trillion at an absolute minimum. Your daily coin income should likely be somewhere in the ballpark of 800 trillion to 1 quadrillion per day. In addition to that, you will likely need a golden combo of at least level 6 or higher, with a duration of around 58 to 60 seconds would be ideal. Again, trying to get to a permanent status for all of your econ producing ultimate weapons is absolutely paramount. In addition to that, you will likely need Chrono Field Plus, which is Chrono Loop, and preferably you would want that at level 4 or higher. This adds to your survivability quite a bit by just keeping the enemies away from your tower, giving you more time to actually kill them. The next big consideration is actually your cards. So you're going to want to make sure that you have around 18 card slots at an absolute minimum. You can see I have 19, and there's still certain cards that would be great if I could put in, but I just don't have the card slot. So 18 at an absolute minimum will get you everything that you need for the basic setup. And next, in terms of your ultimate weapons, you will want Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Death Wave active and synchronized. What this basically means is you want to be as close to permanent for each of those as possible. And last but not least, there are a couple card masteries that you would like to have unlocked prior to actually making this transition. That will look like Recovery Package Chance Mastery, potentially Damage Mastery, and Demon Mode Mastery. Those 3 masteries are very, very important to Glass Cannon and really, really good overall. If you get those in a particular order, I would likely start with Recovery Package Mastery, and we will talk about that in a moment. But the biggest thing in terms of actually transitioning to Glass Cannon, you need to keep a few things in mind. First and foremost, shift your focus away from survivability, away from EHP, and move towards offense. What will give me more damage? The best form of crowd control is damage. If you're killing enemies before they can touch you, you don't even need crowd control because they're just dead. It's fine. Health truly does become irrelevant until you get into these later tiers where you start dealing with like overcharged enemies and things like that. But that will be a little bit later on throughout your Glass Cannon journey. Uptime on your damage per second is critical. Getting as much damage output as possible every single second is absolutely critical. And the last big consideration that you want to kind of keep in mind is that early on Glass Cannon farming runs, they will feel a lot more challenging and you will struggle for the first week or two. But the key thing here is to focus on the momentum. Acknowledge that it's going to take a little bit of time to really hone in on the strategy and figure it out, but stick with it and you will be successful. It's no different than when you start going to the gym and you realize, I've been going to the gym for 3 days and I don't see any results yet. I look exactly the same as I did before I got a gym membership. But if you keep going for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'll start to see some gains. Try to look at Glass Cannon through that same kind of lens. It's not an immediate return, but it definitely does build on itself over time as you continue to kind of work on it and develop it. Now let's go ahead and touch on some additional tips that I think are definitely useful, and one of those is a key mechanic, and that is actually Energy Shield. So you want to utilize things like Energy Shields, Death Defies, and Wall as basically your lifeline. That becomes your survivability. So you want to upgrade damage-focused labs first, such as attack speed, damage, and crit factor, and we'll touch on some more important labs later on in the video. You'll want to shift perks away from your defensive perks and prioritize damage perks. Again, we'll touch on that a little bit later as well. I literally just said this, but you should expect a temporary drop in farming efficiency before Glass Cannon actually stabilizes. This is back to that whole momentum thing. You will start out making about the same, if not maybe a little bit less than what you were making with EHP. But trust the process, follow these steps, continue building on it, and you will start to see some serious results. Now let's kind of dive more into actually Energy Shield and how it works. So Energy Shield blocks a single hit and recharges over a duration of time. It works alongside Death Defy to avoid consuming charges unnecessarily. The primary goal is to delay running out of shield charges and maximizing the uptime. And quite frankly, it kind of comes down to just hoping for lucky Death Defies a lot of the time. I wish I had a better answer, but that's been my experience at least. And now let's actually talk about your killing methods. There are 2 primary killing methods that we can talk about. These are categories. The first category is going to be your passive damage sources. These are things that you can't necessarily control. This will look like Thorns and Orb damage. The Thorns deal passive damage, but they become less effective in the late game due to the shield and time limitation. A perfect example of this is if you are doing Glass Cannon in Legends League and you have intro sprint equipped, you will see that as you are sort of going through your intro sprint, you'll do good at the start, but you can only tank so many boss hits before you run out of energy shields and inevitably lose second wind. So that's what that's talking about. The next passive source is actually going to be your orb damage. This is percentage-based health damage. So orb damage enhanced by labs like orb boss hit and orb speed, they can significantly reduce the boss health. Especially when you combine it with things like crowd control effects such as Energy Net, Chrono Field, and Poison Swamp, that it really does make a pretty big difference. That's going to cover it for the more passive damage sources. Let's talk about the active damage source. This frankly will come down to like your ultimate weapons predominantly. This will basically just be raw damage per second from abilities such as Chain Lightning, Poison Swamp, Smart Missiles, and Spotlight. Those are definitely the primary ones. The key labs will include things like Missile Amplification, Spotlight Missiles, Chain Lightning Shock Chance, Shock Amplifier, Inner Landmine Rotation, Inner Landmine Stun, Poison Swamp Radius, Stun Chance, and Time. Focusing on maximizing some of these labs and reducing the overall cooldowns on some of these ultimate weapons will definitely be to your benefit. Also, trying to find ways to maximize your amplification multipliers. This will be things like Spotlight, Amplify Bot, etc. Now moving on to card mastery priorities. So there are really two categories of card masteries that we'll be touching on here, and first and foremost is going to be your Econ card mastery. So first and foremost, the best in slot, the first one that I would recommend actually getting as your first card mastery would be Recovery Package Chance Mastery. It unlocks care packages, which give packages a chance to also deliver common modules. So it just gives you a chance to get common modules, which inevitably get converted into module shards. So basically, this one is super important for overall just developing your module levels. Module levels help you in every single facet of the game. Damage, HP, Econ, it's all there. So this is really a no-brainer in terms of first card mastery that you should probably look into. And this is definitely one that I would endorse and recommend. In addition to that, in terms of the Econ category, the next one I would probably get will be Wave Accelerator. You can read what it says here. It says Wave Accelerator Mastery increases the rate at which spawn rates accelerate, causing more enemies to spawn in earlier waves. So at max level, you get a 2% increase on when these spawn rates actually accelerate. So what this is talking about is basically in the wave info, you can see the active enemies, this number right here, the 45, the spawn rate. It brings it up to the max spawn rate way quicker. And this is really a pretty critical component of Glass Cannon. This is where you will get a lot of the utility and gains in terms of coins, basically just from maximizing this mastery. And really the last key one within the Econ category is going to be actually Intra Sprint. Intra Sprint reduces the total farming time and really just makes your runs a lot more efficient. It's also pretty beneficial for Legends tournament runs. I would say it's actually kind of a cheat code. You're effectively getting to skip every other boss wave in Legends tournaments, so there's a lot of value with that. Especially if there's something like a basic ultimate and bosses are quite a big problem for you, Intra Sprint Mastery is really valuable. But Intra Sprint Mastery kind of plays into the secret currency of the tower, which is time. Time is super valuable. Intra Sprint Mastery, getting it at max level, will take you to 1800 waves, which is super great. A lot of those waves, you're not missing out on that many coins anyway, because with Glass Cannon, remember, we're farming a higher tier, so we're getting a higher multiplier, so getting through those first 1800 waves actually doesn't really hurt you that bad. Missing out on those coins, skipping to 1800 waves, it's a lot of value. Now let's move on to the actual damage focused mastery. So the first one that I would probably get would be sort of a tie-up between damage and demon mode. You can see what damage says here. It literally just buffs your actual damage multiplier. And this one is really good even upon unlock. Getting the unlock for damage mastery alone can honestly kind of throw you over the threshold of being able to do Glass Cannon, depending on the previous development that you have in terms of like your labs for damage, your enhancement levels, your module levels, etc. But damage mastery is really strong. It's really good. Next on the list is going to be Demon Mode Mastery. Demon Mode Mastery gives you a lingering damage buff when it is activated, and it lasts for 300 waves. And you can see within the lab, it basically just allows you to buff up how much actual damage that lingering damage buff is. A key component with the damage mastery is actually finishing the Demon Mode Recharge Lab. The max level for the Recharge Lab puts you at recharging Demon Mode every 300 waves. And the Demon Mode Mastery damage buff lasts for, you guessed it, 300 waves. So what that means is, every single 300 waves, I will get basically a permanent damage buff through the Demon Mode Mastery. Really the last mastery for Glass Cannon, and arguably probably the best, will actually be Super Tower Mastery. This mastery is just absolutely insane. It converts 35% of the card's multiplier effect, which is this number right here, to increase all ultimate weapon damage. All of your ultimate weapon damage. The base super tower, just the card itself, only factors in for your tower's projectile damage, which is, basically useless. But the Mastery allows 35% of that to affect your ultimate weapon damage. It is absolutely insane. And the actual lab that you do will decrease the cooldown required for your super tower to be active. You can see at max level you effectively have a permanent super tower going, which is incredible. It's really, really good. In addition to this one, you want to obviously have some good development in your super tower bonus lab as well to really maximize the benefit of this. But in terms of which of these I would get first, if you're just looking, I would probably get damage first, and then demon mode second, and super tower third. The reason for that is simply because in order to really get the most out of super tower mastery, you need to be able to max the lab for it. Because if it's not permanent, you're not getting the most benefit out of it. And you will likely run into a lot of issues where your super tower will go down, and then basically a boss or a fast or somebody will come in and kill you. So just keep that in mind. But that's kind of the order I would recommend for getting each damage masteries. Those are really the three basic ones that I would say are pretty much a must for Glass Cannon. They're really, really good. And within that, I'll actually just briefly go through here and show you the current setup that I am using. So I have free upgrade mastery going, and that is mostly for the sake of getting my enemy health level skips maxed as soon as possible, and also my black hole digester. It gives me a lot of coins through that. I have obviously my normal econ stuff, so coins, crit coin, enemy balance, intro sprint, wave accelerator, wave skip, recovery package chance, attack speed, damage, critical chance, berserker, ultimate crit, plasma cannon, energy shield, second wind, energy net, super tower, and demon mode. Like I mentioned previously, Glass Cannon requires a lot of card slots. If I had literally 2 more card slots, I would probably last a lot longer in my runs because I could add in something like Slow Aura, I could add in Landmine Stun, which again, it's not really mandatory for Glass Cannon, but it definitely helps in terms of keeping the enemies away from your tower and buying you time. Extra Orbs is also pretty good for just adding some extra damage to bosses and maybe getting lucky and killing some other enemies as well. But the point is, this is really the base setup that I've had for quite a while here, and it's been fantastic for me. Now moving on from cards and card masteries, I think we should go ahead and talk about modules, because modules are actually very, very important. So first and foremost, in terms of the best overall cannon module for Glass Cannon, hands down, it's going to be kind of split between 2 options. So in terms of cannons, there are 2 options that I think would be optimal for farming. That would be Amplifying Strike and also Astral Deliverance. I would suggest between the 2 of these, probably Amplifying Strike will be the best in slot currently in the game. This video is being produced during version 27. The type of module effects that you really want to look out for are really anything that just buffs your overall damage. So things like super crit chance, crit factor, critical chance, super crit multiplier, and attack speed. Those would be the 5 primary stats that you would want to get. Moving on to the generator, there's a few options here. You really can't go wrong. In terms of actual raw coin gains, I believe that Black Hole Digester is probably currently the best in slot. But if your cooldowns are still not quite where they need to be, you can absolutely use Galaxy Compressor as well. The key stats that you want to focus on within the generator category will be things like Ancestral enemy health level skips, Ancestral coins per kill bonus, recovery package chance, things like that. Now moving on to the armor category, Anti-Cube Portal is 100% going to be the overall best pick for Glass Cannon. It's just, it's kind of just unbeatable to be honest. Get a 25 time damage buff for 7 seconds after enemies are hit by a shockwave. Absolutely insane. A couple other options that can work but are not as effective in my opinion will be things like Negative Mass Projector. Still pretty good, the unique effect's good, but it's not as good as Anti-Cube. And also Space Displacer can be pretty good as well. Either of those are okay as well, but you definitely don't want to use Sharp Fortitude, you don't want to use Wormhole Redirector. In terms of the actual module effects on your armor module, Some really good options to have would be things like shockwave frequency, orbs, orb speed, death defy, things like that. Wall rebuild is also really good for kind of bringing your survivability up, like we discussed previously. Having as much time that your wall can come back, your energy shields can come back, buying yourself time. It's very valuable. But those are some recommended sort of module effects that I would suggest for running Anti-Cube Portal and really any of these for Glass Cannon. Moving on to the core category, last but not least. The best in slot would be either Multiverse Nexus or Dimension Core. If you have assist mods, obviously you can run both. If you do not have assist mods, I would probably suggest Multiverse Nexus. If you can't use Multiverse Nexus, you need to try to use Dimension Core. Absolutely try for it, but you want to still make sure that your ultimate weapon uptime is pretty consistent and pretty up all the time. Some crucial stats for farming will be things like Ancestral Spotlight Angle, Spotlight Bonus, Chronofield Speed Reduction, Death Wave Quantity, Golden Tower Duration, things like that will be super valuable. That's actually going to cover it for the modules. Let's go ahead and talk about the target priority. So this is the current target priority that I am using for my Glass Cannon farming. A lot of this is going to come down to what you actually die to the most. And for me, it comes down to 3 different enemy types. Fleet enemies through overcharge, bosses through sheer tankiness, and rays from just spinning around and killing me. And underneath that, I have in Spotlight. This is mostly just for the sake of killing enemies within the spotlight so that I can get the coin multiplier from that. Underneath that, I simply just have closest. So that's basically what I use for this. It's been good for me. One thing to note about the first few runs that you do with Glass Cannon, you just need to keep in mind that the runs are going to be a lot shorter. You're going to get way higher coin gains and more cells as well. And also you're going to get more reroll shards. People don't really think about the reroll shards, but each tier that you go up will provide more reroll shards available for your modules. Fantastic. You'll also see increased overall progression and faster runs. Really quickly, if you guys are still watching the video right now, thank you for sticking by. If you're finding this helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the video, and dropping a comment, and letting me know how your tower's looking. Now really quickly, let's actually just get out of this run and talk about the ultimate weapons. Alright, so within the ultimate weapons, there are going to be really 3 that are absolutely mandatory for Glass Cannon. This is not actually talking about your econ stuff, so just bear with me. This is really just damage-oriented stuff. But first and foremost is going to be your Chain Lightning. Ideally, you would like to have your Chain Lightning look at a bare minimum similar to mine, but some ideal levels would be to have damage above times 1000, maxed quantity, and maxed Chain Lightning chance. That would be ideal. Chain Lightning in a lot of ways really has become like the go-to damage ultimate weapon. It's just really strong, especially paired up with Spotlight. That's actually going to bring us up to the next ultimate weapon, which is actually going to be Spotlight. So Spotlight amplifies all damage sources, and I mean, some ideal levels would really be trying to get your bonus above 25, your angle with substat above 55, and your quantity to 4. This is really good. And the next one I would say is absolutely primary will be Chronofield. So Chronofield, basically, you're looking for 2 things. You're looking for permanent uptime, and you're looking for max speed reduction. That is really good. In addition, if you have Chrono Loop, I would suggest at a bare minimum trying to get level 4 Chrono Loop. Again, this is maybe not a requirement, but it definitely does make a pretty big difference, just in terms of adding some extra time before the enemies can actually get to your tower and kill you. And kind of an honorable mention will be Poison Swamp. Poison Swamp is by no means mandatory for Glass Cannon, but it definitely makes a pretty big difference. So Poison Swamp, the 2 main things that you want to focus on here, you're going to be using it at the start as a utility ultimate weapon. Kind of similar to Chronofield, but you want to try to get a permanent uptime on Poison Swamp. So what that looks like is duration 70, cooldown 1 minute and 10, so 70 seconds. In addition to that, you want to make sure you work on all of these Poison Swamp labs to try to get a pretty big swamp size. You obviously want a pretty good swamp stun chance and stun time. Developing those 4 ultimate weapons for damage will be really good. In addition to that, your golden combo you will likely want around level 6 at an absolute minimum. Black Hole, obviously the closer to permanent you can get with Black Hole Digester would be ideal. I have mine at 33 seconds, and that has been fine for me, even with a little bit of a gap. In your death wave, ideally you would want a max quantity. That will just help a lot with the coins and cells, and you'll want the cooldown as low as possible as well. The damage doesn't really matter, but this is what mine currently looks like, and it's been perfectly fine for me. Smart Missiles is also very good in terms of just raw damage output, but the actual investment you need in both labs and stones is frankly just absolutely crazy. So for that reason, I've been putting my stones elsewhere, and I'll obviously double back and get this up a little bit later on, but this is what my Smart Missiles currently looks like. In terms of inner landmines, you're going to want a max quantity and a cooldown of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Damage, again, kind of doesn't really matter, but the two main things here is going to be reducing the cooldown and increasing the quantity. This will primarily be a safeguard against fast enemies and bosses. Alright, and that's actually going to cover the ultimate weapons. Let's go ahead and dive into some of these labs. Alright, so in terms of the labs for Glass Cannon, let's go ahead and talk about the damage labs first. So you're going to want your attack speed, damage, and crit factor primarily to be as high as you possibly can get them. Attack speed is really good overall. Your damage and crit factor you'll probably want somewhere around the same kind of level. That would be my suggestion. Really good. My levels currently are as follows: 54 for damage, 55 for crit factor, and 70 for attack speed. This has worked for me, but obviously I intend on continuing to develop these as I continue to farm Glass Cannon. Also, don't forget about your super crit multiplier and super crit chance. These are two very easy labs that you can get up as well. In addition to that, we already talked about the passive source of damage for enemies, and that is through orbs. So you'll want to make sure that orb speed is maxed as well as orb boss hit. Wall Rebuild as well is a really good lab for just keeping up your survivability, getting your wall up as often as possible. Mine's currently level 15. Moving on to the ultimate weapon category, some labs that are going to be really good for you here will be things like obviously Swamp Stun, Swamp Radius, Swamp Stun Chance, and Swamp Stun Time. Those four, just get a good solid baseline in each of those. Some other good damage labs, you can do the Smart Missile labs if Smart Missiles is your primary damage source. Mine is not, but you can definitely develop these if you'd like. In terms of Chain Lightning, you'll want to get Chain Lightning Shock unlocked. You'll want to put some good development into the Shock Chance. Mine is currently at level 17. You'll want to max the Shock Multiplier. That one's really good. You can also do Spotlight Missiles. Again, if your Smart Missiles are pretty developed, Spotlight Missiles is great. And for Chain Lightning, you'll also want to do the Lightning Amplifier for Scatters. Scatter Amplifier Lab. That one's really good as well. In terms of the cards, the last one that you really want to do is the Super Tower Bonus Lab, as well as all of the Card Mastery labs that we previously discussed. In terms of the utility labs, there are quite a few labs that I would kind of put in the category of utility. They're just really good. And first and foremost is going to be Recharge Second Wind and Recharge Demon Mode. This just really helps you a lot, especially Recharge Second Wind. You get an overcharge fleet enemy and it just totally wrecks your Second Wind. Don't worry, because it'll come back in 400 waves, assuming you survive that long. Likewise, Demon Mode Recharge, for the same kind of reason we discussed with Demon Mode Mastery. It has a really good synergy with that. Also, the Energy Shield Extra Hit Lab. We already touched on that and why it's important, but get it done, it's really good. Chronofield Range is another really good lab to basically go ahead and max out. This lab buys you time, again, so that you can just survive a little bit longer and give yourself a little bit more time to actually kill the enemy. Enemy health level skips, for obvious reasons. Both of these are actually really good, but enemy health level skips will be paramount for Glass Cannon, just giving you an extra 2% just from a lab. Really good. Last but not least for the utility category is actually going to be Wall Rebuild. This lab I'm definitely going to finish, but this one kind of goes along with the same kind of mindset of the energy shields, just buying you more time, more survivability for your wall to come back up. You can also work on the Wall Invincibility lab. Sometimes you'll get lucky with this and you'll find that a boss is hitting you right when your wall spawns. And sometimes you can get lucky and get some free thorn damage off, although it's not very reliable, so keep that in mind. Lastly, let's kind of touch on what the enhancements should kind of look like for Glass Cannon. I am trying to keep my coins and my cells roughly the same. It's been really good, but you can see it's getting very expensive. Likewise, enemy level skips, you want this to be as high as possible. And your free upgrades you want high, especially if you're using Black Hole Digester. In terms of the defense enhancements, Really, you want to kind of just get landmine damage unlocked and orb size most importantly. Orb size is actually really valuable. And last but not least, in the attack enhancements, I'm basically mainly focusing on these three, but also a little bit of emphasis on attack speed. The main thing with these three in particular is you want your damage and your super crit to kind of be the same, and you want your crit factor to be a few levels higher than these. If you have some extra coins available and you want to put some into damage per meter and rend armor, you absolutely can. I've just found that it makes more sense for me with my setup currently to work on damage, crit factor, and super crit. Now let's go ahead and talk about the ideal perks for Glass Cannon. So within the perks, I'll show you my bands really quickly. So I actually have 6 bands available. I started with 4 bands and that was totally fine, but I'll just show you what I currently have banned. I have 3 standard perks banned, so Interest, Defense Absolute, and Health Regen. Those are basically not super great for Glass Cannon. Obviously Interest and Defense Absolute, but Health Regen as well. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me with my build. So banning those 3 removes 15 total perks from the pool, which is actually really good. Buys me a lot more time to get some of this other stuff that I actually want. In terms of the trade-offs that I currently have banned, the damage 50-50 trade-off is a no-brainer. You absolutely want to ban this one, 100%. Just like you will screw up your runs if you don't ban this perk. Secondly, you want to ban the lifesteal knockback trade-off. You're giving up 70% of your knockback chance to get a little bit of lifesteal that you don't need anyway, because we don't need EHP, we're blowing enemies up and killing them with damage. Last but not least, in terms of the trade-offs, I have the damage but boss health trade-off. This one, on paper, sounds like it could be good, but I have found that I actually lose runs when I take this perk, and that's mostly because the bosses actually get a lot more health. Now moving on to my auto pick ranking. I currently have, 11 ranks unlocked, so I'll just show you each one that I have here. Perk wave requirement, always first. That's kind of a no-brainer for farming. Coin health trade-off is another no-brainer. Max game speed, farming efficiency, making your runs quicker, really good. The 3 ultimate weapon, the Golden Trinity. All coin bonuses, free upgrade chance for my Black Hole Digester. Then we have the enemies have negative 50% health, but tower health regen and lifesteal minus 90. So this is actually a really good perk. This is one that you definitely want to try to get whenever you can. Obviously, it just brings the enemy health down and makes them easier to kill. No brainer. After that, I just have the damage perk, really good, and the spotlight bonus. If you have more ranks unlocked, some other stuff that would be good is things like the boss health, minus 73%, really good. The chain lightning damage perk, obviously really good. Chronofield duration, unless you have it maxed. The enemy speed but enemy damage trade-off is also really good. Makes the enemies like really slow. So that one is very good. So guys, that is going to conclude this video guide on how to farm with Glass Cannon. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, do me a solid. This will help me out a ton. Drop a comment down on the video below and leave a like on the video. This will help me spread this video out to other people that maybe could use it. Likewise, if you're still sticking around, huge shout out to you. Thank you for watching this long, and if you want to see some other content that I have, feel free to subscribe to the channel and stick around for more videos. We have a Discord server with 2,500 people in it. This Discord server has players of all different levels of the game, all experience levels, and we have a mentor program, we have useful links. There's a lot of value in the Discord server, so check out the description where you will find a link to the Discord server. Please join, don't be a stranger, join the Discord server. Last but not least, if you want to support me in my content creation, please consider using my content creator code. My creator code is code 300. Using this code directly supports me at no extra cost to you. You can use my code to basically purchase anything within the web store or the in-game app, whether it's stone packs or whatever. If you do go to the web store, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. That's where the creator code section is. But yeah, thank you guys, everybody who's already been using my content creator code. You guys are amazing. And with that, that's going to conclude today's video. But thank you guys so much for watching. And like always, I will see you guys later.